I don't want you to trust me. I don't want you to believe a single word I say. Humans, we're wired to believe people when they speak. I mean, it's a pretty awesome thing in its own way, because if you look at humanity and where it's come from and how far it's gone, a lot of what we've achieved as a species has been accomplished because when one person speaks, the others listen, and everybody believes it, which is cool in its way. But now we live in this time when it's so complicated. I mean, there's so much information out there, and so many people can't be trusted. There's so much information that's not right out there, and it's so easy for someone to tell you something that they believe is true, which is actually false, and tell it to you with such conviction that you believe them because they believe themselves. It's a dangerous power. And so, being a guy with a microphone and a bit of conviction, I understand I'm up there too. I'm in that space. I'm dealing with those dangers of being someone you might trust despite the fact that they might not actually know what they're talking about. And so I would encourage you now, for the first time and probably not the last, don't trust any of it. Go and check all of it. Check everything I say. Double check it. Make sure that it's right. If it sounds ridiculous, go and find out why it sounds ridiculous. Go and find out whether or not it's true. Go and find out more about it. I don't want people to just accept that I'm telling them something true. I want people to question this stuff. And the reason for it is because nowadays questioning is being discouraged. You know, when I was in school, I had a lot of energy. I was that annoying kid who sat up the back and never sat still. And I questioned everything. And I get it. The teachers hated me. I was a nightmare kid. Always asking questions. And it's totally understandable to think that if you've got one teacher in front of 10, 15, 20, 30 kids, and every one of those kids questions everything that teacher says, that's going to become problematic. I can understand why the school system doesn't encourage questioning things. I get it. But critical thinking is very, very important. If you don't question the things in your life around you, you become complacent, you become ignorant. And I truly believe that some of the dumbest people you'll ever meet are people who don't question stuff and who don't listen to the answers when they're offered. I find that's the other side of questioning and critical thinking that's an issue. Is I get a lot of questions on tours and stuff. I have people ask me things all the time, and that's great. I encourage it. I love questions. But if you ask someone a question and then talk over them while they answer, you're not asking questions for the right reasons, are you? You're certainly not learning anything from what's coming out of those questions in the first place. So that's a whole other can of worms there. But it is important to ask questions and learn from the answers. And I just don't know if that's common enough. So I'm not a scientist. I'm not qualified. I don't have any entomological background. I'm just a dude who likes bugs and who likes taking photos of bugs on toys. That is my whole thing. And I'm sharing this information because when I was a kid, I was raised to believe that I knew enough about the world around me. And as I've grown, I've learned that was not the case. And I just think it's really worthwhile to do a little more investigation, to look a little closer, to ask a few more questions, and to really sort of look at our world better. Because one of the things that I do go on at length about occasionally is I firmly believe, this is a really passionate belief of mine, that there are very few truly bad people in this world. I believe that there are very many people doing what they believe to be good, but their understanding of what's good and what's bad is tainted by the fact that they don't actually know what they're doing, don't understand the repercussions of what they're doing. a great example would be, like a politician. I think it's possible to be born into a political family and raised in a political school and be very well educated to be a great politician, but to never once consider the greater aspect of what you're doing. I think it's possible that there are people out there who are in positions of power who don't have any understanding of the power that they hold or the impact that their decisions may ultimately have, because they were raised badly by people who didn't really know what they were doing either. There's some really great examples of people like Joh Bjelke-Petersen. He's a great example. So Queensland's Premier back in the 70s and 80s, Joh Bjelke-Petersen was raised as a farmer. He was a peanut farmer's boy. And so he was raised as a farmer. He was raised with an agricultural mindset. He was raised under the kind of idealism that gets people in that situation in the first place. And farming, as challenging and amazing as it can be, occupationally speaking, farming at its heart comes from an idea that, the world isn't really worth much until you've done something with it. That our planet, our home, isn't really valuable until it's been modified by us in some way. And that the only things that truly have value are the things that you can cut down and sell to your neighbour for a profit. So having a politician in charge of a state with that kind of an ideology, it's not a huge surprise that that same politician tried to destroy the oldest rainforest on Earth and the Great Barrier Reef in the same sort of master stroke. So there's definitely a possibility that you could be a very well-educated person but also be an idiot because your education was wrong, and not questioning that education, well, that will sort of perpetuate that idiocy. And it's also very possible that you could be a very poorly educated person and be very, very intelligent. Because, critical thinking makes a big difference to stuff. Asking big questions, important questions about your world, that matters a lot. So, the takeaway here, don't trust anything I say. I want you to question all of it. I don't want you to believe any of it, but I do want you to go and research it. Because if it sounds too good to be true, maybe it is. But if it turns out that it's not, then maybe your world is more amazing than you gave it credit for in the first place. And that may very well be the moral of this story.